Welcome campers. In today's video we have another DIY project. We're going to make rooftop tent quick disconnects, so stay tuned. So before we get started on it, I have to remove the rooftop tent from the roof rack and the shower room. I'm going to completely take the roof rack off the Jeep, but I'm going to explain why I'm even making these in the first place. So I custom built my roof rack out of some K-suspension gutter mounts and just some 2x2 square tubing, and I made it extremely low profile. So if you guys can see that, there's next to no room from the bolts and the nut to my roof. So for me to remove the rooftop tent, I have to completely unbolt the gutter mounts and then prop the tent up with a piece of wood underneath just to reach these. So that is why I am making quick disconnects that will go between the roof rack and the rail of the tent. And not everybody will have this issue, but some of the quick disconnects I found online were extremely expensive and they looked kind of flimsy compared to what I'm gonna make. So I think this is the best route to go. So we got in all of our parts from Barnes 4-wheel drive. I got in the bushing holders, the tabs, and the bushings themselves. But if you notice, the bushing holders and the bushing body don't fit. I called Barnes 4-wheel drive and I told them, hey, I'm getting this part. What bushing will fit inside of it? They gave me the part number for this one. So that's kind of a bummer. But it took, a week for me to get all my stuff because of all the holiday shipping and everything. So I'm just going to adapt. I'm not going to try to order different stuff or anything. I'm just going to make it work. So what I did was went to a local metal shop and I got some Dom tubing that will fit inside of the mount. And then this bushing with some light grinding to make it a little smaller will fit inside of here. So that's kind of like a sleeve to make up the difference to just keep this project going. And it's beefy. I mean, this is Dom tubing. This is probably quarter wall. And then this is, this is overkill for the bushing. And then this part will be on this piece of flat bar that will be on the bottom of the tent. And then these tabs will go on this piece of flat bar to be the adapter that will be welded to the roof rack. So now that I kind of shown you all the parts and everything, let's get to making them all fit together, and then I will get to welding. Well, after some grinding, filing, and hammering, and the use of some WD-40, I have the bushing sleeves inside of the Dom tubing that will fit inside of the mount that will go onto the flat bar. So now that I have all of these done, I will get started on tack welding these in here. These are in here so tight that I think just 2 or 3 tack welds on each side is going to hold this in place. And then I'm going to fully weld the entire bushing after it's tack welded to the mount. So let's get started on it. Well, since I can't fit the welding clamp completely around it like this to weld it, I'm gonna kind of adapt some more, put it up like that, so then I could get in there and tack it, flip it, tack it, tack it, tack it. So I used WD-40 as a lube as I hammered it in, just to make hammering in the bushing into the sleeve easier. And it looks like I didn't get all of it out of there. I thought I did, but that's what the black stuff's from. But that's kind of the plan, is just hit it with tack welds like that on both sides and clean it up, and these will be good. These came out great with the tack welds. They're just on the total, I tried to do them on the total opposite sides, but these are not going to go anywhere. And they came out perfect. So we're going to get to the point where we are going to mount them in here, get them centered up, and get them tacked on, and then weld them in. I have the sleeves tack weld to the mounts. I got all 4 of them tack welded on there so they will not move, and now it is time to run some beads and get them welded in. So I got the 4 pieces of 3/16 flat bar cut and ground down. I don't know why I ground down the back of it. I don't really need to do that, so I don't really know why. And I have these tabs ground down, so they are ready also. And I did check the mounts. Those are cooled down, so I'll finish welding them in, and then those will be good to go. And from there, we'll call it a night and finish up these quick disconnects in the morning. All right. We got around all of them completely welded in. The front and the back side completely welded on both. They're extremely hot right now. I'll burn the crap out of myself if I try touching them, but they are good to go. I'm gonna let them cool down overnight, and then in the morning we'll keep this project going. So while I'm finding the center line on the 3/16 flat bar for the mount, I'll explain to you why I'm even making these. I'm making these because when I made my roof rack, I made it extremely low profile, so it's maybe in some spots it's touching the roof. And when I have the tent mounted to the roof, the ends of the bolts are actually slightly digging into the metal of the roof, so it's scratching that up and causing rust. And also it's extremely hard to take off the tent. I have to unbolt the entire roof rack from the gutters, and then I have to push it up while someone else stuffs like a 4x4 in there to hold it in place so I could get the bolts off or get the nuts off the bolts that are holding the tent onto the roof rack. So to take off the tent, it's kind of a nightmare. It takes, 20-30 minutes when it could take 5 minutes. So that's the first reason why I'm making these. And the second reason why I'm making them is the other options out there sucked. There's 2 options from what I found. One of them was from Front Runner, and that only works with their roof racks, and they cost like over $200 for little dinky aluminum quick disconnects for their rack. So it's proprietary, and it won't work with my roof rack that I kind of custom made for the roof of the Cherokee. And the second one is from a company called Go Rhino, and it's kind of the same thing. It's designed for their roof racks, so I would have to buy the mounts, which are right around $180, and, you know, cut them up and make them adapt to my roof rack. So to do all of that, I mean, I might as well just build my own and have them, you know, be extreme overkill. I mean, this is quarter wall dom, this is 3/16, or no, that's I forgot what thickness that is, but that's dom tubing. That's quarter inch. I mean, that's quarter inch, this is 3/16. Like, I mean, I could almost mount a dirt bike to the roof rack, like how heavy duty these are gonna be. And with our tent only weighing 110 pounds, it's complete overkill. But with these being kind of universal, since they'll just bolt to the mount rails on the underneath of the tent, it opens us up for options in the future. So if we get like a hard shell that's, you know, 150 pounds or heavier or bigger, it's we don't have dinky little mounts that we have to worry about on a difficult trail breaking and then the tent flopping off our roof in the middle of an obstacle or anything like that. So that's kind of the reason why I'm building these. Plus, I could have made the Go Rhino ones work, but just looking at the quality of them, they're gonna look just like these, but like a baby version. Like all of the metal's thin. You know, I've read a review that a dude had them for a few months and they're already rusting. So I don't think the finish on them was the greatest. So I just figured, hey, you guys see the parts that I use to build these. So if you want to build your own, and I get to work with my hands and make another awesome project for the Jeep. So I got all these marked. I'm gonna get these, or I'm gonna get one of them on here, use the magnet to hold it on, and then I'll tack weld it in place, and I'll do that to all 4 of them. Then I'll fully weld them in, let them cool down, clean them up, and they will be ready for paint. And then we'll get to the tabs or the adapters that will go onto the roof rack. All right, they are all tacked on there. So now I'm gonna run a bead on one side on all 4 of them, let them cool down for a little bit, and then run the bead on the other side, and these will be done, minus drilling the holes for the bolts and painting. So let's get to it. Perfect. They're fully pressed in there. I will need to remove them to paint them, but that's no big deal. A screwdriver can help me with that. But yeah, they are fully in there. Now I will bolt the tabs to there, keep them a little loose, and then I'll set them on the flat bar and just mark it with the Sharpie to give me enough of a gap to run a bead on the inside of each onto here. And then this should be able to weld to the roof rack with 0 issues. So I have the piece of flat bar marked out. I did 3/4 of an inch on each side of the spot where the mount will go. And then I did W's for weld, that's where the mount will go, and then a C line for cut. I just did that all the way down, just so I don't get it confused and accidentally cut the flat bar on a weld line and screw everything up. So now we're at the point I'm going to start cutting this flat bar, and then I'll fully clean it up. There is 3/4 of an inch from the cut line to the weld line, because I realized that I have to hit all of this with a grinder, so there's almost no point in doing a weld line. So I know that 3/4 of an inch from the edge in and then from the cut line to there kind of saves me. So then I know once it's fully cleaned up where to draw new lines to start welding the tabs on. All right, we got both sides of each piece of metal grinded down, because the bottom side will be welded to the roof rack and this will have the tabs on it. So I'm gonna get to marking it out, the 3/4 of an inch in on each one, and then from there we will get to welding them on. Hopefully after that I can get the roof rack out here, get it all mocked up, get it tacked in. So the mounts are completely welded on the inside and outside on all 4 of them. I'm letting them cool down, then I'm going to hit them with some acetone to completely clean them up. So while those lower mounts are cooling, I'm going to be drilling holes in this flat bar, just one on each side. They're going to be spaced out a lot wider than the little flat piece of metal that came with the tent. So it will have more, I guess, more, the weight will be distributed better on these tabs with the rails of the tent. So it should actually hold the tent better and it should be stronger. So I'm going to get those I'm going to get them drilled. I will get them cleaned up with the grinder. Then from there, I mean, I'm going to call it a day. I've been welding all day. So in the morning, I will button this thing up and get it completely done for you guys. All right, these are looking pretty. Cleaned up on both sides with all 4 of them. Now it's time. I'm going to completely clean up everything, and we're going to move the roof rack onto the table, put the tent on top of it, and wait till the morning to get everything bolted up, mocked up, and start tack welding the mounts onto the roof rack itself. So we have the roof rack on the table, and we brought the tent out, and we figured we'll just lift the tent up a little bit and just mock the mounts underneath it just to double check it. And it's going to look a little funny, and we're going to have to get used to it at first because it's going to sit about 4 inches taller off of the roof rack. But honestly, with the ease of getting my hand in there and being able to remove the nut and the bolt and pulling the tent off, I think it's worth it. And it's gonna kind of look like a spoiler on a car a little bit, just because it'll be sitting a little bit higher off of the roof rack. But honestly, I don't mind it because of just how easy it will be to remove the nuts and bolts and pull the tent off completely. And with these mounts being welded to the roof rack, it creates tie down points for if we ever have a piece of gear that we will be sleeping in on the ground, that I will have a video out soon on. We could just toss it on the roof, run a couple straps through, and tie it down. So I think it's a win-win. It will just take some time to get used to, but I like it, to be honest. All right, you guys, the welding is completely done on this project. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to weld 1/4 inch to 12 gauge. So some of these welds didn't come out the prettiest, but I made sure they are on there. So I don't have a rooftop tent flying down the hill while I'm on an obstacle or anything like that. But that's all 4 sides. Is about as clean as I'm gonna get it. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait for this to completely cool down to the touch, put a coat of paint on it, and repaint the sides that I hit to make a ground. And then these are perfectly lined up, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a Sharpie line on these so I know where they're at after they get painted. So I will make those lines, pull these mounts off, take the bushing out, and clean them up and paint them. By the time that is fully dry, this should be cooled down enough so that I can put a coat of paint on it, get it completely together, toss this on the roof of the Jeep, put the tent on it, and we'll see how it works out. All right, I have the tent mounts painted and they are drying currently. And while those are drying, I did touch up the roof rack and paint the mounts that are welded to the roof rack. Once everything is 100% dry, I'm gonna put the roof rack on the roof, and then we will put the tent on the roof rack and test it out, and it should fit just fine. So here is the final product. Late last night I got the roof rack on the Jeep, and then I got the tent secured on there fully. The only downside I immediately see is that it's about 4 inches taller off of the roof rack itself, but I'll take that trade-off because it's honestly 4 bolts that I could easily reach my hand in there and undo, and I could pull the tent off. Before, it was a complete nightmare, so I'll take this trade-off any day of the week. So one upside right away with the Gap is the cover. With the Trailhead tent, you take off the cover and there's straps with buckles on the inside and then these buckles on the outside that you can roll the cover up and secure it so it's just rolled up in this space. Before, when the tent was flush, the rolled up cover would be in the way of the doors. So it would be really hard to open the doors. You'd have to shove the cover out of the way and then open the door. But with it being about 4 inches off the roof rack, it'll sit in this area, which will make it extremely easy to access the driver doors on the Jeep. The second upside that I immediately see is the gap between the tent and the shower room. Before, it was a little hard to do the zipper to secure the cover onto the tent with it being extremely close to the shower room. But with that gap, it will be a lot easier to zip the cover onto the tent itself without having the shower room in the way. So I just got back from the road test and I had 0 issues. I got going 70 on a couple roads I shouldn't have been going 70 on, and had 0 problems with the tent. No whistle, no weird sway, like nothing whatsoever. So I think this is a great upgrade. And if you guys have gotten this far, I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. If you have any questions about anything I did, comment down below. I'll get right back to you. Also, like the video. I did put a ton of work into this, so liking the video helps us out a lot on YouTube with everything. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel so you can see more DIY stuff like the quick disconnects. You can see product reviews and our trip videos. And you guys have a good one. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.